All right, here we go. We're gonna be talking about the Death Note adaptation, obviously. And first things first, I want to get out of the way. 4.5 out of 10. If you're looking for a rating, that's what it is. Don't even play, because I've watched this movie so many times now, 4 or 5, and honestly, I keep coming back to that number. I want to give it a 4 because of some of the ways they've ruined characters that I love and the ways that they've really fucked up relationships in this movie, and that there's no real payoff that means anything. But at the same time, the cinematography is great. They have wonderful death scenes that each portray their own kind of little story and development of the character. Not development, I'm sorry. They each have their own little story that portrays who the character dying is really, really fucking well. And I think there's a lot of really cool scenes, like when Light's in his house and it's all shaking. And even though there's no meaning to that scene, it's absolutely pointless. There's no depth behind it, there's no weight to it. It's such a fun thing to watch. It's just a cool little thing that gives you insight into the character's world. And so I think overall, between all of this, the fact that Ryuk was really cool, they actually nailed that character, and the fact that by the end of the movie, I want a sequel. I think all of that together leads me to the number I give it: 4.5. 4.5 out of 10. I don't think that's generous. I don't think that's giving it too little. I think that's an accurate number. So let's get into it, right? Start with characters. We got Light Turner. So the transition from Yagami to Turner, you know, just Americanizing him, but I feel like when they did that, they changed his character a lot. And, well, maybe not overall, but they do for the duration of this movie until the ending. The ending, things change. And I'll touch on that when I talk about how I want a sequel. So, Light Yagami, right? Light Yagami is a smart, manipulative, popular person who knows how to talk to people. He knows how to take control of people through using his words and his thoughts and being persuasive, right? Light Turner, he's a bitch boy. He doesn't know how to talk to people. He's awkward. We don't even get an inkling that he's smart, except for the fact that he does other people's homework. So until the ending where he really takes things into his own hands, he's just kind of being led around by other people, and he doesn't know how to talk to other people in like a way that really helps him out. And he's just kind of your awkward nerd boy. But that's fine. It's whatever. I don't think it's a horrible thing they did for his character. I just think they're taking away the giant legendary character that Light could have been, that Light felt like when you watch the original Death Note and you see him make all these big moves as Kira and him gain this god complex and slowly becomes sociopathic. But regardless, I think it wasn't horrible. I think Nat Wolff here does an okay job. I enjoyed his performance overall. I just feel like the people who are behind deciding his dialogue and his character development didn't do the best job. So moving on to Mia here, who used to be Misa. I think Mia's character change to a more involved, more important character was really cool. I feel like it gave us something to get invested in as far as the relationship. Well, it should have at least, but they fucked that up real bad. But I think her character alone is more interesting and mysterious than Light is at all ever in this fucking movie. So for the majority of this film, she actually feels like the protagonist to me, her or L, one or the other, because those two characters are way better than Light. L being portrayed by Lakeith, I can't remember his last name. I'm so sorry, but L there had a lot of character development throughout the film. He kind of snaps when he loses his mentor and goes on this whole adventure to find fucking Light and bring him to justice as quick as he could with his own hands. And I think that was really cool. I think throughout the movie he nails his oddities and his quirks. I think that he does a lot of things right that I wouldn't expect him to. I think that Willem Dafoe as Ryuk is really cool. I think Ryuk is hard to nail in a live-action adaptation whatsoever, and they did a fucking great job. They made him interesting to watch. They made him really, really visually stunning. And I think the only problem with Ryuk in this movie is that he doesn't seem as much as an observer enjoying what he's watching as much as he should, and I think he's not in this movie enough. I want to see more of him. I want him to be a little more involved, but not really, totally involved, because it seemed like in this movie he stopped showing up about halfway through. like showing up and actually doing anything important about halfway through. Which I get, he's supposed to be around for the introduction, but later on he doesn't even interact as if he's watching it and laughing. The only time he really does is at the end there when he makes his little one-liner, and halfway through when Mia kills all the officers that are looking for them. Aside from that, after the beginning of the movie, he kind of takes a back seat. And that's disappointing because we want to see more of them. We want a small cast of characters that we really get invested in and get to watch them interact with the intellectual level that they should have, which means Light and Elle should be fucking smart, okay? We shouldn't get any of this foo-foo bullshit where Light's like, who knows? And he's just getting manipulated by some girl he likes, you know what I mean? The entire plot of this movie was based around the fact that Mia controls Light, and it's all about what Mia does, okay? So don't give me for a second that Light's the fucking main character, because it's 100% Mia. And she dies at the end, which is kind of the perfect ending for her character in this film, but, it kind of sucks because she was fun to watch, even though she was really inconsistent in the way she acted. So moving on from that, I would have to say that the reason a lot of the payoffs at the end, I'll say that a lot of the payoffs at the end of the movie don't have any weight to them, and it's because of their relationship not having any real stake to it, right? It's the focus of the movie, but it's established in about a 3-minute montage that skips all the stuff that we would actually want to see. It skips them actually building relationship and, strengthening it. It skips Light actually figuring out how to use the Death Note in a productive way and getting around its rules and finding out all the intricacies of it and testing it out and finding, his meaning and inspiration for actually continuing going and being Kira. It skips all of that and portrays it in a tiny little montage, which was really lame. And I'll say it's the worst part of this entire film. They fucked up. So moving on from that, I have to say that because their foundation was so weak, all of the payoffs at the end, the Ferris wheel scene, all that kind of shit that's supposed to be revolving around them, the dance, when she's finally taking control, it all feels so weak because she's been taking control this whole time, and we don't really care about the relationship. We care about her more than we care about Light, and Light's kind of a stagnant character. He doesn't have a lot of development. He stays in this kind of not goody two-shoes, but better than all the other characters, He doesn't want to kill the officers there. He doesn't want to kill Elle's mentor there. He just wants to kind of get his information and keep going and just kill the bad guys that he's sure are bad guys. The only kills that were really made by him are the bully, the person who killed his mother, I believe, and then the, what's his name? The dude who kidnapped the other two, and even that was influenced by Mia a bit. So, overall, I feel Light doesn't get interesting until the very fucking end of the movie. Elle. We're going to talk about Elle now, because I can't talk about Mia and Light and get all upset because they were done super shitty and then move on to another thing I don't like. So we're going to talk about something I did like. I think Elle was portrayed really well. I think that on top of nailing all those little oddities and quirks, I feel like his portrayal in the movie was really cool. He had sort of a reliance on his mentor that was there, but it wasn't, built as super important until we see him lose him. Then we see just how much it meant to him, and we see him go down this spiral where he actually takes action into his own hands, and he goes out there hunting for Light, and he does all this stuff that would seem sort of out of character for Elle, but it feels like it fits. It feels like it flows well into that. It feels like the development makes sense, and it makes me like the character even more, and that says a lot, because throughout this movie, Elle was the most enjoyable character for me to watch. Ryuk, I would say, was just as enjoyable, but he's not around as much, and he also isn't as important to the plot. So overall, Elle's top tier. Moving on, we should really talk about the fact that the cinematography in this film is really good. There are a lot of scenes that are just shot really well. A lot of the settings are executed tremendously, and a lot of the times, just the overall tone of the movie is nailed. I think they just had an idea of what they wanted it to feel like when you watch this film, and they did a really good job of getting that done. What they didn't get done right is plot progression. What they didn't get done right is character development. What they didn't get done right is an actual adaptation. This film feels more like a standalone and a setup for a sequel than it does like an adaptation of a beloved piece of art, which is the original anime. We're going to talk about why I want a sequel now, because we've already given this film a rating. We've talked a little bit more about what it does right and what it doesn't do right. So now I think we should get onto the subject that I think is most important. After watching this film 4 or 5 times, I have to say, all the film does is make me want a sequel. I don't give a shit about this movie anymore. I'm over it. 4.5. That's what I give it. Not going to change at this point. I know what I like about it. I know what I don't like about it. But what I will say is, at the end, we've got major character development for L and for Light. And that's what I wanted this whole goddamn movie. I wanted character development. I wanted something I can invest in. And now we have Light, right? He's on the hospital bed. He's now making moves of his own when he wrote down the names off the computer of all the people he was too pussy to write down before because he wasn't sure. He was, doubting himself, trying to be the good guy. Well, now that's done. It's not there anymore. He doesn't give a shit. Mia's dead. He killed Mia. He's sitting there explaining everything to his dad. He's out in the open. He's almost at a sociopathic level. Not on a full front, but in a way that he cares less about people than he did before. He's ready to be Kira by himself and do what needs to be done. And that's what I want to see. L, on the other hand, is doing more than he was in the original anime as far as development, right? He's being more physical and active than he was before. He's less of just a quirky, intelligent, kind of sit-there character that he was. And I'm not saying that L in the anime is bad. He's probably one of the best parts of the whole anime. I'm just saying that in this film they did him really well. I wouldn't say better than the anime, but they took their own spin on it, and it worked really fucking well. So we have two characters that feel massive, they feel important, they feel large, they feel developed, and they have a history, which is what we have throughout this entire film. So there's investment there. Whether you like the film or not, there's investment there. You understand the characters and the backstory that's given to you, you understand what they've been through, you understand the development that they've given to you, and you also understand that they are now willing to do more than they were at the start of this film. Alright, so you take that and you merge it with the original plot of Death Note, right? The anime, which was about these two characters butting heads, about these two characters playing a chess game, trying to figure out who's who and who's gonna win. It's all about their own forms of justice, Light slowly getting a god complex and dealing with the person who wants to bring him to justice, who wants to end his reign. Okay, so you take that, you take moments like the scene in this movie right here where they're both in the diner or cafe or whatever it is, and they're talking to each other, and you actually get glimpses of, what you want out of this film. You get glimpses of the actual fun, interesting, wonderful interactions that you had in the anime. When you get glimpses of that, right, you have an idea. I get an idea that these people might actually be able to pull off a film where that happens more frequently. These people might actually be able to pull off a film that has a more streamlined, more focused plot direction, right? So let's think about it from where it left off. We've got Light ready, we've got L ready, all developed. We don't have Mia in the way, we don't have L's mentor in the way, which also makes them more of individuals than they were before. It's going to focus more on them as main characters than it did on them being, kind of characters that had to be partnered. We have Ryuk taking more of a front seat now that we have more of a development of the fact that, he and Light aren't necessarily getting along at all. We have the fact that Light's father knows who he is. Is he going to spill the beans? Is he not going to spill the beans? Who the fuck knows? If we take this movie and give it a sequel, you know how many interesting plot points we could have? We could get the interactions that we've been craving since they announced that they're making, a live-action movie for this. We can get stuff like the scenes in the fucking original where, Light gets the girl's ID when she wants to help his investigation and kills her within seconds, revealing that he's Kira. We can get scenes like that because he doesn't give a shit anymore. He's not looking for the humanity in everybody. He's not looking to save the world right now. He's just being not a shitbag. I shouldn't say shitbag, but he's ready to be more serious about it and more, engulfed in his own beliefs that he is becoming more and more like a god. We're ready for this. The characters have shown that they're ready for this. So we take a film filled with moments like the diner scene. We take the characters in the state they are now, and we add in the plot points of his father and his internal struggle and what maybe Light does to his father. Who knows? We take those, we take all the evidence that L has now, and what do we get? We get a movie that's significantly better than this one. The staff behind this movie have already said that they're willing to make another one if there's interest and so forth. And guess what? They've made better movies than this movie. So if they learn from their mistakes in this movie, but keep the good parts, keep the amazing death scenes, keep all of the focus on visually stunning scenes and cinematography, we keep that, right? But we add in a better plot focus, we add in better character relations, which are kind of already there. We add in more scenes like we had in the diner, the stuff we actually want, the meat of what makes Death Note. We add all that in with the characters we're given at the end of the film, and it sells itself. Like, I would watch that movie in a heartbeat. I want that movie. After about the third time watching this, I came up with that idea when I was thinking about it. I don't want to say I came up with it, but I started thinking about it. And every time I watch this movie now, all it does is make me hyped up for a sequel. All I want is a sequel now. Because even though I didn't enjoy this movie a whole lot, I did enjoy it. I think, it wasn't a good movie overall, but I feel like the second movie could be fantastic. And that's all I want. That's all I want. There's nothing else I can really say I want out of it, because this is what it is at this point. It's out there. They're not going to change it. It is what it is. 4.5. It's done. But I feel like the new movie could be potentially way greater than this ever could be. So I want to hear other people's thoughts on it. Overall, final thoughts. 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 10. Like I said before, I want a sequel really badly. And that's pretty much it. Movie's alright. Watch it if you haven't seen it. If you've seen the anime and you're watching it, it won't be as good as you want. If you haven't seen the anime, watch this first. You'll enjoy this more, and you'll actually get more enjoyment out of the anime, because comparatively it'll be better too. So overall, you'll have a better experience than if you had just watched one or the other. So, it has its own merit. Feel free to comment down your own thoughts about the movie. I want to hear other comments that aren't just "it sucks" or "it's shit." I want to talk about it. I want to see what other people think. If there's another take on the movie that I didn't think of, or if there's another way it could be looked at, or if maybe you have a reason why the sequel shouldn't happen, or why it wouldn't be a good movie, or if you think I'm completely full of shit and that it's just garbage, tell me why. But also, give reasons why the film is garbage. Don't just say it's shit. It looks like shit. The plot progression is shit. You know what I mean? Like, I want to talk about things. I want to have a conversation. So, feel free to put something down there. Thanks for watching.